Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. So President Bola Tinubu is seeking to restructure the country's tax system. This new reform will scrap the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, and they'll be replacing it with a new company, or a new agency called the Nigerian Revenue Service. Both chambers of the National Assembly have received 4 different executive bills. The President Tinubu is confident. He said, "I'm confident that the bill, when passed, will encourage investment and boost consumer spending and stimulate Nigeria's economy." So joining us to discuss this further, the impact of this bill, economic, financial, business and policy development consultant, Dr. Paul Alaje is a chief economist and partner at SPM Professionals. You can also join the conversation. Ask your questions about the new tax reform by calling us on 0810-7641-679 or tweet or comment on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. So, tax, we don't like to hear it. We don't like it. We don't love it. It is about like squeezing. Nigerians feel like they are being squeezed on all sides. So, Dr. Paul Alaje, how will this tax reform reduce the squeezing of Nigerians and yet empower the government with more revenue?
Well, thank you so much for having me. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, sir.
I feel I'm the only man here.
Yes,
you'll be fine, sir.
You're blessed among the women.
Well, first of all, the topic taxation is very important. And as an economist, we believe that it's account for what we call part of fiscal policy of government. Because if government don't earn revenue, there is no way government is going to invest in the economy. For those of us who study economics, we are particular about government income and expenditure. One of the key ways government earn money is through taxation. Now, Nigeria has been practicing, in fact, our tax structure is particularly not clear. Federal government is doing its own. You have state government with their IRS. That's for Lagos, is Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. We have different states doing all manner of stuff. We also have local governments collecting theirs, and we also have some people on the road. If you drive articulated vehicle, you might pay as much as 25 taxes on the road, yes. So if you have a pickup, there is one that's local government, we ask you to pay half year, you have to pay to road safety, you have to pay all manner of charges.
Wow.
It is so cumbersome to do business. Now, all fault will be on the man in Abuja, the man in the middle, because uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. That's the person we are going to speak with. How do we reduce the burden? Perhaps this is why Taiwo Yedele's committee was set up by Mr. President, for them to look at the challenges. Taiwo Yedele and his team are majorly private sector individuals. People like me who have been in the field, they felt the concerns. They are also professionals. So how do we combine what is going on in the market affecting our people with the reality of what they should be doing and adding best practice to that? That is why perhaps this bill is going. And it's not the only one. We have another one that we introduced, Joint Tax Board, which majorly does not have legislation, but let's put legislation to it. And let's see how we're going to have an holistic and effective and efficient system of tax collection that will not kill the people. I understand when the issue of tax come on board, many people feel, oh, now government wants to collect more money. I am somebody who has particularly stay on the side of the people. But if there are no infrastructure, then the people will also suffer. So there is point of fairness on how do we provide the required things for citizens and for a nation to grow.
Okay, sir. Nigeria Revenue Service, right? That's NRS is what we're proposing. I would like to understand in totality what it means. Are we dissolving the FIRS? Are we scrapping their office? Are we sacking the people who have been working there? Or we are rebranding it in terms of name? And how are we merging? Are we now saying, okay, we're just going to be focusing, that's the NRS now, focusing only on the federal tax or only on state tax or only on local government? I would like to just have an understanding of what this is.
Okay, thank you so much for the question. For me, I think there is no merger. Okay. And I also think that based on the bill and the excerpt that we have seen in the public space, we are more or less changing the name FIRS. Okay. So, but to change the name, because FIRS did not just come by itself. It came with the Act of Parliament. So we have to repeal that Act. I think Act number 7, 2000, I mean, Act 7 or so, or 13, 2007. We need to repeal the Act and introduce a new one, which I think is what is currently going on at the both chambers.
Okay, one,
the
name
National
change.
Assembly. So we have to change the name. Two, under FIRS, there is no provision for FIRS to collect some taxes. For instance, what custom is collecting, what immigration is collecting, NIMASA, NPA, all of these government agencies, we have so many revenue collection centers.
Okay.
Meanwhile, in other climes, it's not that they don't collect, but they are representative of the government revenue agency in those places, which is not what is applicable under the current practice. So the master we collect their monies, they will spend, and whatever remains, they leave. Some of the time, nothing is remaining.
Okay.
So, but now government feels, okay, well, this is our money and we have interest. This money is actually for the federation. So FRS most time even you call it federal, but money is collected by FRS is also shared by three arms of government.
Yeah.
So it's not really federal, it's federation indeed, not just the federal, because it's a bit different.
Okay.
So now if you now have Nigerian Revenue Service, it's going to collect revenue on behalf of the federation and bring it to the federation purse, so we know that
how
it will
much
be
we are
shared
collecting.
accordingly. So it's not just going to be that the immigration is collecting and saying this is the cost of collection and all of those. So a number of things will change, and I will not be surprised if some agencies are not particularly comfortable.
They will not like
with
they won't
this
be.
system. So, but you know, there are countries too. There are several models around the world. There are countries where the immigration are actually collecting money on behalf of their government. And there are also countries where the revenue authority are the one collecting directly. They just have a unit in those agencies and collect it. I think the real challenge here is discipline. You know, over the year, there have been financial indiscipline, and you see a manner of all manner of revelation from snake swallowing government money to all manner of things happening. So perhaps that's why government say, well, let me put my skin where my money is. That is why they want to check.
Nima has
where,
a question.
yes.
So aside this Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, there are 4 tax bills. And they're supposed to improve our life, because I took it too. They say that they would remove VAT from certain products, diesel and all of that, and they also said that small businesses going forward will start to enjoy certain. So break down those 4 bills under the tax.
Well, there are a number of them when it comes to the things that have been sent. One of them is I already mentioned. That's introducing Joint Tax Revenue Board. Joint Tax Board, I beg your pardon, it's beyond just the FRS or LRS. There are some revenues that should be harmonized. And at the point of harmonization, what goes to state, at that point we go to state, what goes to federal, we go to federal, what goes to the local government, so it's harmonization of some sort. Not that I have paid certain taxes in Lagos, and I get to Oyo State, you know, not too far, you just cross Ogun, you are in Oyo State. And in Oyo State, they are saying, no, that's Lagos. This is Oyo, so you have to pay us. We might speak the same local language, local language, but you have to pay us separately. So how do we harmonize these taxes? And why do we need to? For fairness and effectiveness. Again, for convenience of the taxpayer. That is why we are doing that. Again, we have also seen the need to remove some, what do we call it now? Withholding tax. Some of these businesses that you have to pay withholding tax, businesses that are doing less than 25 million in turnover, but you ask them to pay withholding tax, you're actually denying them of their cash flow. So if somebody is supposed to pay your organization that makes this cup, because you have supplied them, and they're supposed to pay you, say, 200 naira, but they want to say, we are going to withhold 10%, which is 20 naira. That 20 naira would have been used to buy raw material and expand the business. So government is saying that for small businesses, maybe this is the first phase. No, let all the monies be released to them. So there are quite a number of things that you see in the bill that are really very interesting. But for me as a professional, as we say, the devil is in the details. Let's see the details. Let's expand it beyond the excerpt that's been given to us. And if there are things that we think can be improved, we will improve. And I must also commend Mr. Idili's committee, because I've been invited about twice, you know, when they were having stakeholders meeting, one online and one physical, to look at some of the things they are doing. And I could see a lot of input from the public and from the professionals.
We spoke to him before the committee.
He's become a distant friend.
But we still remember our friendship.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so the tax appeal tribunal also forms part of the joint revenue
Yes.
board. What is going on now? So can you break down for the common man what the tax appeal tribunal, what it seeks to,
So if you are asked to pay 17 million as tax and it's slammed on you, bam, and you are like, it's
From
not
where?
a crime to look beautiful because you see my fine car and my face.
You think I have money?
And they slam your friend too. And the two of you started having conversation. Why have they singled us out? Why can't they single Elijah out? Or why can't they single her? After all, we are on the same show. Why should they be charging us? We're earning the same amount of money.
We are black, that's why. They are light skin.
So what do you do?
Okay,
Nothing. Who would you meet? Nobody. That is why there is need for tribunal.
Wow.
So that you don't just slam. For instance, I give you an instance. I mill rice. I produce rice apart from being a professional.
Oh, okay.
And I remember when
You
I
do?
was yes, of course.
I have a colleague here.
So when I was importing, and these are heavy equipment from India to reduce cost of rice. Unfortunately, the cost keeps going up. Not my fault, but paddy sauce. Now, when we were importing, custom just slammed additional $60,000 worth of. So where do I go to?
Hey.
Now, if you don't pay, you'll be paying demurrages.
Yes.
To who? To containerized terminal owners. Somewhere in Lagos State.
Everywhere.
Now, how many people would you talk to? That is why this particular question you mentioned is so apt. To me, it's one of the most important things.
Yeah, we must.
Because it discourages investors. How do I now want to say, okay, let me advise my team, let them do further investment, especially in agro, allied industry that affects our nation the most. So that is why I said, even for other things government is doing, it's important to look for people that have private sector experience and they're also professionals to bring their contribution into government.
Felt the pulse.
Yes. So this particular one, because if you don't have tribunal, where do you go to? Or you are driving a truck that carries, say, 600 loads bags of rice on the road and is not government palliative. You just want to supply in a neighboring state. And custom or immigration, everybody stops you. And you say you have seen all the documents. They say stop. Because they know that that thing must be delivered on time. So if you don't give us 10,000 naira, and I'm not saying they are collecting money. I'm not also saying they are not collecting money.
You're being a politician right now.
No. I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they are not. But I'm only sharing experience for what happens, why prices of things will keep increasing. Apart from challenges of food supply, scarcity in terms of raw materials that we need and so on and so forth. But, yeah, so the toll gates
Allow me to be
are too much.
We'll take a break.
Okay.
When you come back.
When we come back, we will further the conversation. We maybe with a little bit of sarcasm from Nima. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. We've been talking to Dr. Paul Alaje, Chief Economist and Partner at SPM Professionals, and we've been discussing the tax reforms, the new bill to rename and re-engineer how FIRS works. Nima had a question.
So I had a sarcastic question on this harmonizing taxes. Because I saw when the news broke, the way people were loading it on X when the video was shared on one platform. And we were saying, this is about time. It should have happened since Obasanjo time. Why now? I've never seen where harmonized taxes improve things from a business perspective. Because there are uncaptured taxes you still deal with. There's also the local government that will refuse to conform with the harmonized taxes. I remember during BRF, there was an harmonization of taxes. And then, what are they there? Suddenly showed up and told us we are satellite B. We have not paid radio. I was like, they've harmonized all taxes. So how optimistic are you as a Nigerian and a businessman on that this would improve
The lives
of
of
Nigerians?
Yeah.
Well, for me, it has to do with enforcement. If there are no enforcement, people will not comply. And when I mean people, I mean actors. I mean collection agents of government. There are states, I don't want to mention the name, in Southeast, where the governor have announced that don't use cash to pay your taxes anymore. But the governor was shocked that a lot of people were still calling their relative close to government, that individuals were still coming to them to collect taxes. Cash. So the government had to send people, he set up a team to start monitoring, and by the time they arrested 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 15 people, that number, incidents reduced drastically. So when we say that we are establishing joint tax board, to my mind, what we are doing is to ensure that there are no taxes that will come by surprise. You will not be driving on the road and somebody will just throw a long stick with nails wanting to puncture your tire because he wants to identify whether the vehicle is registered commercial or it's registered in your personal name, you know, and this is a very common incident in Abuja, you know. So if we can harmonize all of these, I think it will go a long way to helping us, you know. So, and if we don't, I can tell you that it's going to create more confusion. Now, Lagos State have tried to solve some challenges. I tell you, for signage, people in signage industry, Constitution says the funds should go, the adverts should go to local government. But local government don't own land. State owns land. So state will build their land, and this is where the confusion comes from. State build their land. If you want to now run advertisement business in commercial terms, you want to put your board on state land. We state now say, oh, we are giving the road to local government because it's not local government road, it's state road. So, oh, we collect money for the structure will be state. But local government will still be saying, but the view is ours. Then there's confusion or something. That is why organization like LASA is set up. DOAS in Abuja is set up. RISA. Lagos took the lead by looking at how do we solve this problem internally. I look at that agency functioning quite well. Other agencies like RISA have followed suit, ENSA, and so on and so forth. So how do we repeat that gain that we have had in advertising structure, even though Constitution was specific as to who collects advertaries, but the drafter of Constitution forgot that local government don't own land. Look at this road now that your station is. It's owned by the federal government. How can local government say that for people that put structure there, they will now? But LASA now hold that responsibility to say certain percentage of revenue collected will go to this local government, some will go to the state, some will go to... So you won't see that kind of dispute in Lagos State, another state that have harmonized. But there are some states, in spite of this good example they have seen from Lagos State, and the state agents have set up their structure. Local government were still very adamant. So, but laws like this will help to put finality to a conversation around we have the right, we don't have the right. That is why harmonization will be so. If you are somebody in the industry,
it sound like it's really,
It's a walk in the park.
I love how nice it sounds, but he also already mentioned that it depends on the enforcement, that the government needs to enforce the lack of the people that are already used to the way they are doing things to stop doing it.
Not just that, there should be punitive measures to those who decide to infringe.
Yes,
so, for instance, you're traveling interstate and somebody drops a stick. You have confirmed under harmonized tax, you've done your paperwork. And the person you're talking to is insisting. Who do you take that out? That person
How do you report the matter? Yes.
Now, that's why we need the tribunal.
That's why you need the tribunal.
On the main road.
Most of the time,
The Office of the Tax
most of the time, I also think that it should be
direct
enforced by the federal, states, and local government that you cannot just show up in my shop and ask me to pay taxes. There should be a digital identification means. That is, if I scan maybe a code, I can see your name that you come from. So when I'm reporting, I'm not reporting unknown gunman or unknown face. I'm reporting someone that can actually be punished, be traced. So we don't just hire people, oh, we have won election, we want to employ 15,000 youths. Oh yeah, come, let's settle you, start going
that
to
still
the
happens in Lagos. It's happening in Lagos, even despite that I've had to settle a relatively unknown young man. And when I traced it to ask the local government, because I could even have access to ask the local government chairman in the area that, who are these boys that two of them have come out, and this is the number they gave me. He said, they are our boys. We just gave them a target on revenue they should make, and whatever is left over, they can get to keep to take care of themselves. So they go outside from estate to estate and place impose bills. So, and at the end of the day, I said, but I've already paid officially for this. He said, for peace, just give them something. So
many Nigerians are still facing this.
We're still having to do for peace, settle.
So I settle 2 places.
Yes, you will settle 3 times for peace, because you know that the process of getting justice to be served or following the right path is a slow one, and we still haven't. You cannot. Your English is not going to solve the problem. Exactly. We'll still have to just say it out so that our politicians, who are the lawmakers, can review and impute this inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because I wanted to answer Nima to say that, so that's what the Office of the Ombudsman is there for. So even before you get to the appeal tribunal, you already have the different offices, which I want to believe will be available maybe in the local governments for people to quickly get answers and be pointed in the right directions before you can take up the case now to the appeal.
So let me ask you,
sorry, that the government, from the government side, there should be on uniformed individuals who would take those trips as well and arrest these people
undercover.
So I'm more concerned about the people on the streets who have for many years been collecting this, and there are a lot of them. What is going to happen to them? Because it seems like you are beginning to take food from their mouth. Where are you going to put them? If they are not able to collect tax the way they've been collecting from businesses, they may decide to start doing something. So is there any plan to integrate them, or are you just going to dump them and do this harmonization? Very important for us on the streets.
For me, countries where this have been done, they are the first set of people that were trained for them to now have new orientation. Not all of them were taken in those environments. They were trained and they were integrated into the system. Of course, somebody with a fresh orientation would lead the team, but you still have them as foot soldiers who now know that this is the way things should be done differently. But for those of them who feel that, oh, no, this is the way it should be done, the law is the law. Once we pass a law and says that you can no longer go on the streets and start throwing stick on people's tires to collect money from them, then doing that will become illegal and it will come with consequences. So I would not encourage that people should be left unemployed or people should be left hungry. At the same time, we need to be mindful of the overall economy. If you have to pay a charge 3-4 times and you are doing business, where do you think the burden will be transferred to? The customer. So now people's disposable income will be affected, poverty may increase, hunger may increase. So we need to look at it, which is better for us, to deal with poverty and make everybody poor, or to deal with illegality and right the wrong so that we can improve our overall economy. Apart from that, we have been looking for investors. How many investors want to come, bring their team, employ Nigerians, and they hear that on Oshodi, 3 vehicles, some boys, through stick, they won't understand us. Yeah. So what would that mean for ease of doing business in Nigeria? And that is why perhaps you've seen people say, oh, this is long overdue. We need to start putting structure. You want a nation. You see, when you want to go to a country that you think is developed, apart from having constant electricity supply, what comes to your mind after that is there should be structure. In fact, in your mind, you feel that, no, I don't expect this to happen. And it's not just you that is investing today. For every one investor you have, corporate or individual, there are 250 organizations, corporate or individual, that you are marketing to technically with or without your structure and with or without your system. So if you don't get them right, unfortunately, it may not last.
It's really surprising. I'm looking forward to the implementation of this. There's a little concern I have, though. I'm a bit concerned about, not just about the implementation right now. I'm concerned about the fact that we have many agencies who have always generated revenue and who have always spent from the revenue they generated, and now they are going to be stopped from generating revenue. How do you think this would, what are the loopholes you think might come up, and how do you think the government can preempt those loopholes to address those agencies? Well,
I'm expecting a lot of loopholes, especially in the medium time or right now to medium time. I expect a lot of, because people are already comfortable doing what they used to do. Now, the bill is suggesting that, you know what, still do your core mandate, but leave revenue for us. So if you leave revenue for us and we have to deal with people that are sincere, then that will be no problem. But because Adam Smith made us understand that people are not sincere, they are greedy. Adam Smith. And it's the reason why you now need to, one of the reasons why you need to study economics, for you to know how to manage the greed, not your own greed, but greed of others, alongside with yours, so that you can make the best decision. So what do? If you must deal with people who have been used to collecting such money and you don't want them, well, do you want to transfer them out of that department and move them to another area? Do you want to bring their staff and integrate them into the new National Revenue Service so that they are not working and they are responsible to you? Do you want to send a supervisor from? So quite a number of things can be done to ensure that the right thing is achieved. And if this is not done, unfortunately, we'll continue in our old ways and hoping that we are going to see a difference in the near future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Paul Alaje. You have given us a lot of information regarding this new tax reforms. I think that we are all waiting for the more a more detailed release of the content of this tax reform. But from what you have said, it's something we should be excited about. We cannot fight the government on taxes. They need the money to better provide services for us. We also need to pay so that we can hold them accountable. That is not oil money. This is our own money that they are spending. And so we'll continue to do our part as citizens to hold government accountable as we get more information from professionals like Dr. Paul Alaje. Thank you, ladies, for an amazing show.
Thank you, darling.
Definitely the show will continue tomorrow. But for us right now, we're leaving the studio. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.